105.3 The Fan.
Join Richie Witt at Vandergrift Honda, I-20 and Cooper in Arlington. This Saturday from noon to 2. Come hang out with the fan crew and check out all the great deals at Vandergrift Honda. Details at 1053thefan.com.
The Sweet 16, the Elite Eight, the Final Four, the National Championship. March Madness. Sponsored by Bud Light on 105.3 The Fan.
Albert Slater's show continues on 105.3 The Fan. This segment is brought to you by Briggs & Stratton Lawnmower Engines. March Madness brought to you by Bud Light continues. The local flavor is fun to watch. Marcus Smart from Flower Mound Marcus is some kind of basketball player in high school, now at Oklahoma State. And the gentleman that coached him at Flower Mound Marcus to 3 consecutive 5A state titles is Danny Henderson. He joins us right now. Danny, how are we?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Appreciate you hopping on with us. When you first saw Marcus Smart walk onto the court, did you just say, that's the guy, or did he have to prove a little to you?
Well, I got to Marcus the spring before Marcus and Phil's sophomore year. So I coached them the last 3 years they were in high school. And the first time I saw Marcus, it was obvious he was special. But it wasn't until we played just top-notch competition before I realized just how great he was. You know, their sophomore year, we wound up playing Long Beach Poly in the finals of the Whataburger tournament, and Poly was ranked number 5 in the country. And we wound up beating those guys for the championship, and Marcus just dominated the game, and Phil lit him up from the outside. And it was at that point that I realized, gosh, these two kids can be, you know, great at not just a state level, but at a national level.
Speaking with Danny Henderson, he's current coach at Duncanville High School. You had been with Flower Mound Marcus for a while now. Phil Forte, Mason Cox, Marcus Smart all go to Oklahoma State to play basketball. How come you didn't go?
Well, I've certainly been to a lot of their games this year. I try to make as many as I can. I wish I could have made it out to California this weekend, but wasn't able to do that. But, yeah, I've gotten a great thrill watching them perform this year.
Talking to Danny Henderson, Marcus Smart's coach from Oklahoma State. So when you look at a guy like Marcus Smart, you really see just sky's the limit for him. This year, he won Big 12 Player of the Year, National Freshman of the Year. That puts him in the conversation with guys like Kevin Durant and Michael Beasley. Your thoughts on his development? Do you think that this guy could be in that conversation post-college, NBA career?
Yes, because so many of the things Marcus does goes beyond statistics. I mean, there's so many things he does for a team. And the bottom line is this is and always will be a team game. And Marcus, so many things he does you can't quantify. And I've just always been a proponent of the philosophy that to be a great team, your best player has to be your hardest worker. And I'm going to tell you, I coached the young man for 3 years, and really Phil Forte is the same way, exact same way. Those two guys were our best players, and I never saw them take 1 second off of any drill, any scrimmage, anything we ever did in practice. They were always our hardest worker. And how do you quantify what that does for a team? I mean, when your best player is willing to dive for loose balls and take charges in practice and always go 100%, it just lifts everyone up around them. And you can't quantify that into statistics. But I can tell you this, that's what's required to win championships. And Marcus Smart and Phil Forte, they have championship DNA, and I mean, just courses through their veins. They're going to be special, and they're going to change the culture with any team they're a part of.
Talking to Danny Henderson, Marcus Smart's coach. You coached him at Duncanville. Now you're at Flower Mound Marcus, rather. Now you're at Duncanville. I'm curious, is he the type of player, knowing who he is and his family, it's a little early, but is he the type of player you think is going to declare for the draft early?
Man, a lot of people have asked me that about Marcus. I've had actually a lot of general managers have called me from NBA teams and asking all kinds of questions about him. You know, they're doing their homework, and they all ask me, do you think he'll leave early? And I just tell them that the money's going to be huge, but I'll start with this. He's a different kind of cat. Marcus, during his recruiting process for colleges, he was so unimpressed with the coach. I mean, Roy Williams and people like that were calling, and he could care less. All he cared about was his high school team and winning another championship. Well, he's the same way at Oklahoma State. I mean, he's just unfazed by this draft talk. And I can tell you, it's going to be hard for Marcus not to come back next year because he knows they're going to have a Final Four caliber team. Now, on the other hand, it's obviously a lot of money. But another thing is, his mom is a special, special lady, Miss Camilla. She just doesn't care about the money. She would rather he stay all 4 years and get his degree. And so he doesn't have that pulling on him like so many other guys in this position do, family members wanting money. That doesn't exist in Marcus's life.
Danny, I got to ask you this question then, because if you had the power right now, this is Danny Henderson, coach at Duncanville High School, coached Marcus Smart at Flower Mound Marcus. If you had the power right now, would you make it guys got to stay in college for 2 years, 3 years? Do you like it one and done?
Well, for selfish reasons, college basketball was better when guys had to stay longer.
You betcha.
It was just so much better back in the day when those North Carolina teams had, 5
Perkins and
NBA
Jordan
players playing on the team together, and Worthy, Jordan, and Perkins, and all those guys playing together. It was just better then. So for selfish reasons, I'd like to see it, and I will tell you, because I'm exposed to it for the first time. Now, I'm talking about Marcus Smart, who's a very, very level-headed young man and a great kid, but he just turned 19 years old. I don't relish the idea of him next year being turned loose with, being on the road with NBA guys. And again, I'm talking about a kid that'll make good decisions. He's been raised the right way. But still, that's just too young to be thrown into that environment.
Who do you like in the tournament?
Well, I think it's as wide open as any team, as any tournament I've ever seen. I think my gut tells me that Indiana has the best chance. But Florida has got a great. They have a great team. Of course, Louisville's really good and all that. But I will tell you, OSU has Marcus Smart, and I've just seen him do some incredible things in tournament play. I mean, incredibly. And so I would never bet against the Cowboys making a long run either.
Is it still a point guard's game? I know the big man is what it's all about, and everybody wants the 7-footer. But has it changed a little bit, Danny?
Yes, it has, and it's changed for a number of reasons. The game's gotten so much more physical, and referees, because of strength training, and referees have let the game get more physical. Therefore, it's harder to score on the block. Therefore, the great big man has diminished, and the great big players are leaving after 1 year. So that guy just doesn't exist much in college basketball anymore. When back in the day when Olajuwon and those guys were dominating the game, that just doesn't happen anymore. And yes, it is a guards game, and it's turned into a pick and roll game too, which again is it all revolves around the guard. So yeah, it's a guards game, and the team with the great guards will win. And Oklahoma State has a great one.
All right, we got. Oh, good. I'm sorry, Slater.
Well, I was just going to ask you, Danny, because this is the 1 year we've seen that there's no Texas teams in the NCAA tournament. You obviously hear from coaches; they do their recruiting. Is Texas not that active in the North Texas area? Why do you think some of your players, like Marcus Smart, are choosing to go play out of state?
Well, the Marcus and I'll answer it two ways. You asked about Marcus leaving early. One of the big reasons it's going to be hard for Marcus to leave early is because it's going to be hard for him to pull away from Phil Forte. They've been best friends since third grade, and they're inseparable, and that's going to be hard for him to do. And with that said, the way Marcus wound up at Oklahoma State is really a unique story. Oklahoma State got him actually by not recruiting him. I mean, they recruited Marcus, but they thought they were out of the race when North Carolina and those folks got in on him, and they kind of stopped pushing on Marcus about 5 months before signing day. But what Travis Ford did, and I don't know if this was genius or just dumb luck, but what Travis did is that he recruited Phil very, very hard. And he never once in his recruitment of Phil did he mention Marcus. So Phil knew that Travis wanted him because of his own merit.
Well, that's a smart coach right there.
Yes. Well, and I've asked Travis if it was a genius move or dumb luck, and he just grins and laughs. But anyway, when Phil signed with Phil was adamant. OSU was the only team he really considered because of that recruitment. And when it came down to it, Marcus couldn't separate himself from Phil. He wanted to go where Phil went. So OSU got one of the best players in the country by actually not recruiting him. So anyway, kind of a unique story.
Coach Danny Henderson of Duncanville, and if I'm right on this, happy birthday.
That's right.
All right, well, happy birthday to you. Best of luck at Duncanville, and we appreciate the time today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. That's Danny Henderson, former coach of Marcus Smart at Flower Mound Marcus. Now he is the coach at Duncanville High School, and it's his birthday, so happy birthday to Coach Henderson.
And I just love bringing coaches on here that can talk about the context of their players, because now you see this whole other side of Marcus Smart, that you don't necessarily sometimes read in the papers leading up to the tournament.
So he might not be going out in the draft next year.
Interesting.
How about that? Confusion in Arizona continues.